The text message arrived at 11:47 p.m. on September 22, 23. Meet me at the warehouse. Come alone. I have what you need. 23 minutes later, Michael Torres lay dead on the concrete floor of an abandoned textile factory in Phoenix, Arizona, 3 bullets in his chest and 1 in his head. The execution-style killing would expose a web of insurance fraud, blackmail, and betrayal that reached into the heart of a seemingly perfect suburban marriage. Michael Torres had been best man at his killer's wedding 4 years earlier. He had stood beside James Patterson as James promised to love and honor his bride, Sarah, until death do them part. What Michael discovered in the weeks before his murder was that James had been planning Sarah's death for months, orchestrating an elaborate insurance scheme that would net him $2 million while making her demise appear accidental. The warehouse where Michael died belonged to Patterson Construction, the company James had inherited from his father. Security cameras had been deliberately disabled 3 days before the murder. The building's isolation made it the perfect location for silencing someone who knew too much about a planned killing. But Michael Torres had made one crucial decision before walking into that warehouse. He had uploaded a video confession to a cloud storage account, detailing everything he knew about James Patterson's murderous intentions. The video would surface 48 hours after his death, triggered by an automated system he had programmed. As his insurance policy, the message was clear. If something happened to Michael, the world would learn the truth about his best friend's deadly plan. That truth would ultimately save Sarah Patterson's life and send her husband to death row for a murder he committed to cover up a murder he hadn't yet had the chance to commit. Phoenix's Ahwatukee neighborhood represented suburban prosperity in 2023, with million-dollar homes nestled against the South Mountain Preserve. The Patterson family lived on Desert Vista Drive in a custom-built house featuring 6 bedrooms, a 3-car garage, and a backyard pool overlooking the city lights. James Patterson, 34, ran the construction company his father had built from nothing into a multi-million-dollar enterprise. Sarah Patterson, 31, worked as a pediatric nurse at Banner Desert Medical Center. She had met James 5 years earlier when he was treated for a construction accident injury. Their courtship lasted 18 months before James proposed with a 4-carat diamond ring at the Grand Canyon South Rim. Michael Torres lived 2 miles away in the same upscale neighborhood. The 33-year-old software engineer had been James's closest friend since their college days at Arizona State University. Michael served as best man at the Patterson wedding and became a regular fixture at family gatherings, holidays, and weekend barbecues. The friendship between James and Michael appeared unbreakable to everyone who knew them. They golfed together every Saturday morning, attended Phoenix Suns games as season ticket holders, and had invested in several business ventures together. Michael was considered an honorary member of the Patterson family, often joining them for vacations and celebrations. However, beneath the surface of this perfect suburban life, financial pressures were mounting. Patterson Construction had been struggling with cost overruns on several major projects, and James had borrowed heavily against the company's assets to maintain his lifestyle and keep the business afloat. On September 22, 2023, Michael Torres finished his shift at the software development firm where he worked as a senior programmer. He left the office at 6:15 p.m. and drove to his apartment in Ahwatukee, arriving at 6:42 p.m. according to his building's security system. His upstairs neighbor heard him moving around his apartment until approximately 11:30 p.m. The text message that lured Michael to his death came from a burner phone purchased with cash at a convenience store 3 days earlier. Store security footage showed a man wearing a baseball cap and sunglasses making the purchase, but the image quality made identification impossible. The message was sent from a location near the Patterson home, indicating the sender was in the immediate area. Michael left his apartment at 11:58 p.m., telling his security guard he was meeting a friend about a business matter. His Toyota Camry was captured on traffic cameras heading toward the industrial district where Patterson Construction maintained its warehouse and equipment storage facility. He arrived at the warehouse at 12:14 a.m. on September 23rd. The warehouse sat on a 5-acre lot surrounded by chain-link fencing topped with razor wire. The building measured 15,000 square feet and contained construction equipment, building materials, and office space for Patterson Construction's administrative operations. James Patterson had keys to the facility and knew the security systems. Access codes. Michael's body was discovered at 7:30 a.m. by Carlos Rivera, a Patterson construction foreman who arrived early to prepare equipment for a job site. Rivera found the main entrance unlocked and Michael's body in the center of the warehouse floor. 3 shell casings from a .40 caliber handgun lay scattered around the body. The crime scene showed signs of a brief struggle. Michael's cell phone was found 15 feet from his body with a cracked screen, suggesting it had been thrown or knocked from his hand during the confrontation. His wallet remained in his pocket with credit cards and $63 in cash untouched, ruling out robbery as a motive. Blood spatter analysis indicated Michael had been shot first in the chest, causing him to fall backward. The killer then stood over him and fired 3 additional shots, with the final bullet striking Michael in the forehead. The execution-style nature of the shooting suggested a personal motive rather than a random crime. Phoenix Police Department. Officers secured the crime scene at 7:47 a.m. and called for the homicide unit. Detective Lisa Hernandez arrived at 8:15 a.m. and immediately noticed the warehouse's disabled security cameras. The camera system had been operational until September 19th, when someone with access to the building had disconnected the main recording unit. Michael's Toyota Camry was found parked near the warehouse's rear entrance, suggesting he had been instructed to use that entrance to avoid being seen from the main road. The car's interior contained no signs of struggle, indicating Michael had willingly driven to the location and walked into the building. Under his own power, the killer had made efforts to clean up evidence at the scene. Fresh bleach stains on the concrete floor around Michael's body indicated someone had attempted to destroy DNA evidence. However, the cleanup had been hasty and incomplete, leaving behind trace amounts of blood that would prove crucial to the investigation. Police found no weapons at the scene, and the killer had collected all but 3 of the shell casings. The remaining casings would provide ballistics evidence linking the murder weapon to other crimes, though this connection would not become apparent until later in the investigation. Detective Lisa Hernandez began her investigation by interviewing Michael Torres's family, friends, and coworkers. His colleagues at the software company described him as reliable and well-liked, with no known enemies or financial problems. His bank records showed regular deposits from his salary and no unusual financial activity in the weeks before his death. The detective's examination of Michael's personal relationships led her to James Patterson, who appeared genuinely shocked by news of his best friend's murder. Patterson claimed he had been home with his wife Sarah on the night of September 22nd, watching television and going to bed around 10:30 p.m. Sarah confirmed her husband's alibi. When questioned separately, Hernandez discovered that Michael had been acting strangely in the weeks before his death. His sister Maria reported that he had seemed anxious during their last conversation on September 18th, mentioning that he had learned something troubling about a friend, but refusing to provide details. Michael had asked Maria to keep his cloud storage account password in case anything happened to him. The detective's investigation into Patterson Construction revealed financial difficulties that James Patterson had hidden from most people, including his wife. The company owed over $3 million to suppliers and subcontractors, and several major projects were significantly over budget. James had been using personal assets as collateral for business loans. Phone records showed that Michael had made several calls to insurance companies in the 2 weeks before his death, inquiring about life insurance policies and claiming procedures. He had also contacted a private investigator, though the investigator claimed Michael had not hired his services or revealed the reason for his interest. Hernandez learned that Sarah Patterson carried multiple life insurance policies totaling $2 million, with James listed as the sole beneficiary. The policies had been purchased over the past 18 months, with the most recent policy worth $800,000, bought just 6 weeks before Michael's murder. Sarah claimed she was unaware of the extent of her life insurance coverage. Detectives' analysis of the crime scene revealed that the killer had intimate knowledge of the warehouse layout and security systems. The disabled cameras had been disconnected by someone who knew exactly where the recording equipment was located and how to access it without triggering alarms. Ballistics testing of the shell casings found at the scene matched a .40 caliber Glock pistol reported stolen from a gun store in Scottsdale 3 months earlier. The theft had involved a break-in where the perpetrator had specifically targeted handguns, taking only 5 weapons and leaving behind more valuable rifles and shotguns. Hernandez discovered that James Patterson had been researching accidental death scenarios in his internet browser history. His searches included drowning statistics, hiking accidents in Arizona, and methods for making murders appear accidental. The searches had been conducted over a period of 2 months leading up to Michael's murder. The investigation revealed that Michael had been secretly recording conversations with James Patterson using a smartphone app. The recordings, stored in his cloud account, captured James discussing his financial problems and making vague references to solving his money troubles permanently. The recordings did not contain explicit references to murder, but suggested James was planning something drastic. Detective Hernandez traced the burner phone used to lure Michael to the warehouse to a convenience store. Purchase made on September 19th. The store's security footage showed a man matching James Patterson's height and build making the purchase, though his face was obscured by a baseball cap and sunglasses. The detective's examination of financial records revealed that James had been withdrawing large amounts of cash from business accounts in the weeks before the murder. The withdrawals totaled over $50,000 and could not be accounted for by legitimate business expenses or personal needs. The investigation took a dramatic turn on September 25th when Michael Torres's automated cloud storage system activated, releasing a video he had recorded 3 days before his death. The system had been programmed to upload the video if Michael failed to input a daily password, effectively creating a dead man's switch that would expose the truth if he was killed. In the 13-minute video, Michael revealed that he had discovered James Patterson's plan to murder his wife Sarah for the insurance money. Michael had stumbled upon the plot accidentally while helping James with computer problems at the Patterson construction office. He had seen email communications between James and someone identified only as the cleaner discussing methods for staging Sarah's accidental death. The video contained devastating details about James's financial situation and his desperation to solve his money problems. Michael had learned that Patterson Construction was facing bankruptcy and that James had been embezzling money from client accounts to pay personal expenses. The insurance payout from Sarah's death would allow James to cover his debts and avoid criminal charges for the embezzlement. Michael's investigation had uncovered that James had been drugging Sarah's food with small amounts of sedatives, planning to stage a drowning accident at their backyard pool. The video showed Michael had collected evidence of the drugging, including photographs of the medication bottles James had hidden in his workshop and water, samples from Sarah's coffee cups that tested positive for benzodiazepines. The most shocking revelation in the video was that James had attempted to recruit Michael as an accomplice in Sarah's murder. James had offered Michael $200,000 to help stage the drowning, claiming they could make it appear that Sarah had taken sleeping pills and accidentally fallen into the pool. Michael had pretended to agree while secretly gathering evidence. Detective Hernandez realized that Michael's murder had been committed to prevent him from exposing the planned killing of Sarah Patterson. James had discovered that Michael was secretly recording their conversations and had decided to eliminate the threat before Michael could contact police or warn Sarah about the danger she faced. The video led investigators to search the Patterson home, where they found the sedatives Michael had mentioned hidden in James's workshop. Chemical analysis of the medication matched the drugs found in Sarah's system during a medical examination conducted after Michael's video surfaced. Sarah had been unknowingly consuming dangerous levels of sedatives for weeks. Further investigation revealed that the cleaner referenced in the emails was actually Frank Kozlov, a former associate of James's father who had connections to organized crime. Kozlov had been hired to provide advice on staging Sarah's death and had supplied the stolen handgun used to kill Michael. Phone records showed extensive communication between James and Kozlov throughout. September 2023, the plot twist deepened when investigators discovered that Sarah Patterson was not James's intended victim at all. Additional emails recovered from James's computer revealed that he had been planning to kill both Sarah and Michael, collecting Sarah's life insurance, while eliminating Michael as a witness. The plan involved staging a murder-suicide scenario where Michael would appear to have killed Sarah in a jealous rage before taking his own life. James had been spreading subtle rumors about Michael's romantic interest in Sarah, laying groundwork for the murder-suicide narrative. He had planted evidence in Michael's apartment, including photographs of Sarah and of fake journal entries describing Michael's obsession with her. The plan required Michael's cooperation initially, which is why James had tried to recruit him as an accomplice. The investigation revealed that James had been manipulating both his wife and his best friend for months, positioning them as unwitting participants in their own murders. His plan represented a level of calculated betrayal that shocked even experienced homicide investigators. The evidence suggested that Michael's decision to create the dead man's switch video had not only exposed James's crimes, but had also saved Sarah Patterson's life. Without Michael's intervention, Sarah would likely have become the victim of the staged drowning accident James had been planning for weeks. The Maricopa County District Attorney's Office filed first-degree murder charges against James Patterson on October 2nd, 2023, exactly 10 days after Michael Torres's death. Prosecutor Jennifer Walsh announced that the state would seek the death penalty, citing the premeditated nature of the crime and the additional conspiracy to murder Sarah Patterson. Frank Kozlov was arrested on October 5th and charged with conspiracy to commit murder and providing material support for the killing. His cooperation with prosecutors in exchange for a reduced sentence provided crucial details about James's planning process and the extent of the murder conspiracy. James Patterson hired prominent Phoenix criminal defense attorney Robert Chun, who had successfully defended several high-profile murder cases. Chun's strategy focused on challenging the authenticity of Michael's video confession and arguing that the evidence was largely circumstantial. Sarah Patterson filed for divorce on October 8th and obtained a restraining order against her husband. She had been hospitalized for 3 days to recover from the effects of prolonged sedative poisoning and required ongoing medical treatment for the damage to her nervous system. The trial began on February 14th, 2024, with jury selection taking 5 days due to extensive media coverage of the case. The prosecution's opening statement characterized James as a manipulative killer who had betrayed his closest relationships for financial gain. Prosecutor Walsh presented Michael's video confession as the centerpiece of her case, arguing that his detailed knowledge of James's plans could only have come from direct involvement in the conspiracy. The video's technical analysis confirmed it had been recorded on September 19th, 3 days before Michael's murder. The prosecution's evidence included the sedatives found in James's workshop, Sarah's medical records showing drug poisoning, and the communications between James and Frank Kozlov about staging accidental deaths. Phone records and financial documents supported the timeline of James's increasingly desperate financial situation. Defense attorney Chun argued that Michael Torres had fabricated the video confession as part of an elaborate scheme to frame James for crimes that existed only in Michael's imagination. He suggested that Michael had been mentally unstable and had created the conspiracy theory to justify his obsession with Sarah Patterson. The defense's case relied heavily on character witnesses who testified about James's reputation as a loving husband and successful businessman. Chun argued that the financial evidence showed normal business struggles rather than criminal desperation, and that the sedatives could have been planted by Michael himself. Expert witnesses for the prosecution testified about the technical aspects of Michael's dead man switch system, confirming that it required advanced planning and programming skills that demonstrated Michael's genuine fear for his life. The system's sophistication indicated it was not created as part of a frame-up scheme. Sarah Patterson's testimony proved devastating to the defense. She described months of unexplained fatigue, memory problems, and dizzy spells that she now understood were caused by the sedatives James had been secretly administering. Her medical records corroborated her testimony about the progressive symptoms. The jury deliberated for 36 hours over 5 days before returning guilty verdicts on all charges. James Patterson was convicted of first-degree murder in Michael Torres's death and conspiracy to commit murder in the planned killing of his wife. Patricia Williams sentenced James Patterson to death for Michael's murder and life in prison, without parole for the conspiracy charges. She noted the calculated betrayal involved in the crimes and the potential for additional victims if the plot had not been exposed. The Patterson case became a landmark example of how technology can serve justice even after a victim's death. Michael Torres's dead man switch system not only solved his own murder, but prevented the killing of Sarah Patterson and exposed a complex conspiracy that might otherwise have gone undetected. James Patterson was transferred to Arizona State Prison Complex in Florence, where he awaits execution on death row. His appeals process is expected to take several years, during which time he maintains his innocence despite overwhelming evidence of his guilt. Frank Kozlov received a 25-year sentence in exchange for his cooperation with prosecutors. His testimony provided crucial details about the criminal network that had been supplying services for staged murders and insurance fraud schemes across the Southwest. Sarah Patterson relocated to another state and changed her name to escape the notoriety of the case. She established a foundation to help victims of domestic violence and poisoning crimes, using her experience to raise awareness about the hidden dangers of intimate partner violence. Patterson Construction was liquidated to pay creditors and settle civil lawsuits filed by Michael Torres's family. The company's assets were insufficient to cover all debts, leaving several contractors and suppliers with substantial losses from the business's collapse. The case prompted changes in life insurance industry practices, with several companies implementing new protocols for policies purchased in rapid succession or involving unusually large amounts. The reforms were designed to identify potential insurance fraud schemes before they could be executed. Michael Torres's family established a scholarship fund for computer science students interested in digital forensics and cybersecurity. The fund honors Michael's memory while supporting technology education that could help solve future crimes. The investigation revealed that Michael's decision to create the automated confession system had been inspired by his work in software security. where similar dead man switches were used to protect sensitive data. His technical expertise ultimately saved his friend's life and brought his killer to justice. The case raises troubling questions about trust and betrayal in intimate relationships. How well can anyone truly know their spouse or closest friends? What signs might indicate that someone is planning violence against those they claim to love? Michael Torres paid the ultimate price for his loyalty and moral courage, but his death was not in vain. His sacrifice exposed a killer and saved an innocent life, demonstrating that even in death, the truth can still prevail over deception and betrayal.